Hello, and welcome to
Conway's Kitchen is a finger lick, and it's an easy way to cook.
What is up, y'all? Welcome to Conway's Kitchen. Today I want to make tempeh fajitas. I was at the store the other day. I sort of just impulsively bought a bunch of these small little tortillas, so I've been just trying to figure out how to use them, different recipes, and today I want to show you how I cook with tempeh. Tempeh is a good plant-based meat substitute, so if you're vegan, vegetarian, just looking to be meatless, it's a really good way to add protein into your diet. Tempeh is made from fermented soy. It's really hearty. It's got like 18 grams of protein per serving, so a lot of protein there. I'll show you how I cook with it, because for me it's kind of like hit or miss, and you can overcook tempeh and it gets grainy and weird, and so I just kind of want to show you an easy way to cook it down with some peppers, get you introduced to cooking with tempeh generally, which as a vegetarian myself, I utilize a lot in my cooking. So let's check it out. Alright, everything we need here, basically, I'm going to use potatoes today as the base. You could also use rice or something like that, but I am going to cook them down similar to how I did last week with the gravy in the skillet with just a little bit of oil. I'm going to cut them down really small so they just get that kind of country fried potato vibe. Cat zooming around. And then fajitas with the tempeh, we have some pepper and some red onion, and then to go on top, just a little bit of pico de gallo salsa. I found that this really helps tie everything together flavor-wise. We also have a little bit of finely chopped red onion, parsley, and just a bunch of lime in here, and it's a nice sort of zingy topper as well. Got some cheese, but basically to start it off, we're just gonna start cooking those potatoes down. So medium heat here, and less olive oil is going to be better than more, so you can get those potatoes nice and crispy. And then rinse them off, peel them. Right. So last week I sort of just cut them in half, but I want to make the chunks even smaller this week, and it's going to require a little bit more precision, so sharp knife is key. Wet a paper towel under the cutting board so it's not moving too much, and basically instead of cutting it in half, you sort of want to eyeball it and take half of that. So hold it steady, and then you get about 4 or 5 strips out of it, and you're making all of them about, I don't know, like a centimeter or two in width. So you get these little discs here, and then what you can do with that is then just sort of cut strips down there, and then turn it sideways and cut across, and then you're left with really small potatoes, which I've been cooking down a lot lately. I've been pretty into, but you get these really small ones, and I like them a lot, and they're cute, and they work well with the tacos. Because with the tacos are so small, and so you have to only put a little bit of each thing in there, even though you just want to make a bunch of fat-ass tacos. You can't really do it. So again, just little strips. This is sort of the other half here, and then from there you can cut it down with the strips here. Oops. Put it back in its place. And then back the other way. And so it's just a way to cut it down a little bit smaller than what we did last week. That piece is still a little big, but smaller chunks there. It just requires a little bit more precision, just because you sort of have to hold the potato in place. So again, last week I probably would have cut it in half there. You could even make a little incision, right? Say that's half, and then you go, if this is half, you take the other half. There's that, and then there's the original cut here, and then you can sort of turn it again and try and find half, and just go there. So again, it's nothing too different. It's just making them slightly smaller. And it's sort of just a preference thing. I don't always cook the potatoes like this, but I found sort of specifically with the street tacos, this is what I like.
Or smashed tater tots.
Or smashed tater tots. But I'll just have to do a whole series on cooking with tater tots. I never grew out of that, I think the first time I had tater tots, I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. It took me a while. I just didn't know they existed. And then I had them, and I was like, these are amazing. And ever since then, same.
If a place has tater tots, I'm getting tater tots.
Almost always.
That's it.
Yeah, if they give you like a side or tater tots or fries, like I'm going with the tater tots. I see the fries all the time. I'm not gonna get the fries.
Right.
Skillet is hot, so you can just toss the potatoes. If we want to do the potatoes first, they're gonna take the longest. The tempeh and the peppers do not take very long at all. So potatoes are going in, then we're gonna chop that stuff down, but first hit it with a little salt and pepper and stir that around. Don't forget the potato that fell into your shoe. Shoe potatoes, best potatoes. Got some tempeh here. I found it usually comes in these big long blocks. This is already open. I'm going to use about half the block today. If you see tempeh, it should be sort of this beige color, but if you see it's got some like dark marks, totally fine. It says on the packaging it's sort of just a part of the natural process of blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But it's totally fine there. And so basically here, I want to try and make them like small strips. So I'm going to actually just cut it here along this thin side. Just cut it in half. And then from there, you can just turn it sideways and you get your strips. Get those apart. And that'll pair nicely with the peppers because they'll kind of be a similar shape, and then same with the onions. So then you just get like tempeh strips, pepper strips, onion strips that are sort of all the same size cooking down together, and then really nice with the tacos later. And we're just going to put those off to the side, and we'll just sort of season them in the pan. You know, you can, like with tofu, you could marinate it and stuff like that beforehand, but keeping it simple today. No marinade or anything like that. Pepper, rinse it off, cut it up. Got about 2/3 of a pepper here since I'm cooking for 2 people today. And I want to get all that white veiny stuff out of the inside. And from there you can just kind of use your hands and just trying to clean that out there. And you can take that, cut it in half. And then from there, just little thin strips, kind of about the similar width as your tempeh. Alright, peppers there, onion, half an onion here. Can just cut off the ends, take this wrinkled outer layer off. And again, just little strips. Thin, not crazy thin. Because the tempeh, you sort of need to cook it down for a while. So if you sort of throw everything in together, you don't want it to be too thin necessarily, or else it sort of might cook unevenly. Like if the peppers are super thin, they might cook before the tempeh is like really ready. And for me, tempeh is one of those that like if it's off, it's gonna sort of just ruin all of it. So we got those there, but basically we gotta let these potatoes cook down for a little bit longer, and then we'll put them in the pan. Talked about it earlier, just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit more and show you exactly what it is. Just finely chopped red onion, parsley, and like a bunch of lime juice. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt. Just kind of stir it around. And I like this a lot because it's really like raw onion / lime, like zingy, but also it gets better in time. Like if you leave it in your fridge for a day or two, it's sort of just like the flavors grow and the onions get like almost a little pickled. But it's just a really nice thing to have around because it's just a really easy way to just take a little spoonful of it and top it off on the sort of whatever you're eating, and it adds just like a bunch of flavor. So this is something that I've sort of had around a lot more often now. Just it's really easy. I have parsley growing in my garden, red onions. I love sort of raw red onions on top of things, so I just like having this around, and I just sort of wanted to show you all what was going on there. As that oil runs out at the bottom, that's when they'll start to get more of a darker brown and crispy. And once you sort of see that they're starting to crisp up a bit, You can probably assume they're about 10-ish minutes away, 10 to 15 minutes away, and that might be a good time to turn on a little non-stick pan here, a little olive oil, putting on about medium heat, because with the fajitas I want to kind of hit them hot and fast. Oil's hot, a little bit of salt and pepper to go around. And if you got a lid around, definitely try and throw a lid on top of this stuff. Tempeh I found works best trying to cook it down without getting it to be too brown, because it'll start to get brown and crispy, and then it'll get like really crispy and really hard, and the flavor is sort of just ruined at that point. So a little bit of crispy and brown is cool on the tempeh, but you kind of want to avoid just like having it sit there and just like sear. So lid helps with that. I'm also probably just going to hit it with a little bit of veggie broth at some point too. Also helps just sort of cooking down the tempeh, soften it up, add a little bit of flavor without getting it gross. We want to keep this moving around, because the other thing about the tempeh is it will brown very quickly. You can already see this one's got like quite a bit of brown on it. So you just want to keep them moving around. And then once a little bit more of that oil cooks off, we're going to hit it with the veggie broth. And right now I'm actually going to do a little bit of garlic powder in here. And I'll do some chili powder and some cumin soon. If you saw my video on spices and how to use them and which ones to use, I'm sort of going for, Latin persuasion. So cumin, chili powder, pretty go-to for that. While those are cooking, kind of stirring these around a bit, you can see they're starting to get nice and crispy. We're going to let them cook down a little bit further, and then I'm going to throw them in a bowl, and then I'm going to start cooking the tortillas on the same skillet. Corn tortillas and skillet work really well together. Just a little bit of oil. I'll put some cheese on them like that, throw a lid, and then the cheese just melts everywhere. Cat hanging out on top of the fridge. That's his favorite place to hang out.
Because he's safe from the dog.
The dog is safe from him. Got a lot of stuff pretty cooked here. Everything's getting a little soft. Chili powder. Cook that down for a couple minutes. Then I'm going to hit it with some veggie broth and some cumin simultaneously. Potato-wise, just kind of keeping an eye on them. Potatoes are fun. You can kind of cook them a lot. They're probably done now, but I could also cook them for 5-10 minutes and they'd still be done. So take them off in a couple minutes here. But kind of want to time it so like when the peppers are done, the tortillas are done, the potatoes don't get too cold. So a little bit of a balancing act there. Alright, so that oil is gone. It's been a couple minutes with the chili powder. Gonna add some veggie broth here. And what I like about this is that like the onions, all of it is not quite cooked. It's basically almost cooked, but it's not quite there, and I don't want things to like get too brown and start burning. So adding just a little bit of veggie broth there helps cook things down while giving it a lot of flavor, and it's just like sort of a really nice way to kind of finish it off. I almost always do it at towards the end of cooking vegetables after they've had a little bit of time to brown and stuff like that. I don't want to do it too early because I don't want the veggies and stuff to be all soggy. So just a little bit of veggie broth, some cumin, stir that around, put that lid on, let it just cook down a couple more minutes, and then it's going to be perfect. Alright, so I want to turn it up a little bit above medium. I'm going to take the potatoes off, put them in a bowl just off to the side, and I want just a tiny bit of oil at the bottom. Just a tiny bit. Let that heat up for a sec. Move that around, and then you can go tortilla. This size skillet, I get about 2 on there. A little slab of cheese, and then just put it on a lid. Basically, once that cheese is hella melted and the bottoms of the tortillas are just slightly browned, that's when you want to pull them off, and then we'll start adding our toppings. Cheese is super melted. If you lift them up, got some brown on the bottom, and that is a good time to pull them. And you can see that it's pretty barren at the bottom, so maybe hit it with just a little more oil and keep frying up those tacos. Don't forget about that lid. So just a little bit of potatoes. It gets really full really fast, so just enough to kind of go around the bottom. And then you can take some of your fajita innards here. Again, a little bit's gonna go a long way. Making about 3 tacos per person, I found, is a good amount for me at least. See, that one's pretty full. I might have to pull back a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit of peppers, a little bit of tempeh. But you see, they're sort of nice. They're all in strips, and it sort of just makes eating them very cohesive and easy. Potatoes, tempeh. From here, gonna add a little bit of that red onion and parsley. With this, tiny bit's gonna go a long way. Raw red onion, a lot of zing to it. There's so much lime juice in here, it's quite limey. So just a little bit's gonna go a long way, but lime with anything that's sort of the Latin persuasion, really good. It's gonna go really well together. So a little bit of onion there, and similar, just a tiny dollop of salsa. You don't want it to get too soggy, and that flavor is really gonna cut through sort of the high acid of the tomatoes. And so just a tiny dollop there. I could probably make these prettier, but you get what you get. I also like Hatch green chili sauce. It's just a little hot sauce to go with it. Big fan. So just gonna kind of do a couple dollops there. And then you got your tempeh taco fajita street style taco things to eat. Potatoes. There you go. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. Tell me I'm not funny.